Rhys Webb suffered a shoulder injury on the weekend. What's the latest there with him?
Yeah, that's not a great one, to be fair. I feel for him because he's playing exceptionally well, and he's pushing hard to get back in, but that doesn't look a great one. Webby's a tough nugget, as we know, and he doesn't leave the pitch. He tried to soldier on, but yeah, I think that's a considerable one. We don't actually know the full extent of it yet, and that probably tells you it's severe. So look, I think we're talking in, numerous weeks. Let's put it like that. Best case.
Okay, so surgery on the cards, or?
No, I don't think so. But he's extremely sore, still sort of sling, and obviously you need to get swelling down before you get true assessment and things like that,
And in the absence of Rhys Webb, then, do you have a replacement captain in mind to lead you out on Friday night?
Yeah, we've... obviously, depending on when we finalise the selection, we've got some good leadership in there. We've got people like Dan Evans and Lloyd Ashley and people like that have been putting their hand up for us, in recent weeks. So, captaincy, comes in many forms: leading by example, strategic leadership, and often that's driven by a position. So, at this sort of time when you're so depleted, it's extremely challenging time through Six Nations and with such a large injury count. Everyone needs to lead, basically. Everyone needs to lead. If we've got one person who decides whether we're kicking for goal or not and taking the toss, then that's fine. But ultimately, everyone needs to lead.
Massively disappointing for Rhys. I mean, his form has been exceptional for you guys in the last couple of weeks. As well documented, narrowly missed out on selection for Wales.
I think the thing I'd just add to that, I've been championing Rhys and his performances on the pitch. You've commented a lot on them, and I know people are very positive around that, which makes it even more disappointing for him, is what he's done in the group as well. You've got all the rights to potentially, just sort of, be disappointed and not manage your disappointment. The good thing for me is, and the impressive thing for me is how well he's led the group. We gave him the captaincy role, but he's driven the energy of the group, and we'll miss that as much as we'll miss his performance.
Indeed. Stephen Myler, another one who looked like he came off with a knock.
Yeah, he won't go this weekend. Again, same scenario. A bit too early to tell. It's not a great week for you when you lose two international halfbacks. From that point of view, and he's been so instrumental in the good stuff that we've done. But that provides an opportunity, And as I said, extremely challenging time of year, extremely challenging injury list. But one thing I know about this group, and you've commented on it yourselves, is that they're a resilient bunch, and they stick together and they'll put their best foot forward, and that's the exciting bit. I'm really looking forward to how this group, whatever group it is, represents the Ospreys and themselves and the group in adversity, because that tells us a lot about the character of people.
Do we know what the injury is to Stephen Myler? Yeah,
so it's a chest injury for him. So we're waiting. We're getting some expert advice on that. He'll be a couple of weeks, I would have thought, and then we'll see where that takes us.
No problem. So we know that Rodri Jones has been released from Wales.
Yeah.
With a calf injury, while Nicky Smith has been called up. So firstly,
double whammy. Yeah, double whammy for us. Rod's actually not too bad in relation to, obviously, again, a couple of weeks hopefully and getting back up and running. And obviously Nicky's gone back in there on, effectively 80 minutes after being involved. So yeah, he's as you've seen the team, and he's obviously not been released back to us, but Wales takes preference. I understand that. It's just another challenge we've got to get past.
Positive news. Ospreys announced the signing of Jack Morgan. Finally, you've got your man.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, I said at the weekend around, it's important for us to, it's almost an advert of what we've been talking about already, to build a deeper, more robust, more competitive squad. And in order to do that, I've made no secret about championing young, talented players and how they grow into become your next set of senior pros, and how then, within that journey, if they're good enough, they hopefully kick on to international honours. So, that's the model. It's not a unique model, but it's certainly the model that we're adopting. In order to do that, you need really, really good players, really good that have got a lot of potential. And, Jack, I think, has been a standout player for the Scarlets. You've seen how much he's influenced the game, and him coming here to, play alongside and learn from Justin Tipperick and Dan Lydia and people like that is a good breeding ground for him, and it gives us more quality and depth and an opportunity for us, to grow our group. So, yeah, really exciting for us.
Challenge Cup draw yesterday, so much to run through really. You'll be facing Newcastle. Thoughts on that outcome?
Well, obviously we earned the right for I know it's a modified format and no one really knew until it was happening what was going to happen. We earned the right to play at home, which I think is good, and I think that's the massive positive for us, that stayed intact. I think that whoever you play in knockout rugby, it becomes much more pressurised. It's a great opportunity for us to challenge ourselves again. We've gone exceptionally well in the competition, and we're hopeful that we've got a very competitive team that can go out and really give it a good go. Newcastle, obviously, I know well from my time in the Premiership. I know that they are, a very resilient bunch and, well coached. And like all Premiership teams, they're used to the grind and the toughness. So they're always going to be a tough opposition with Dean Richards in charge, and it'll be a massive challenge. And we won't look further than that. I know people took the draw beyond that, but that's an opportunity for us to express ourselves, and we look forward to that.
Glasgow Warriors on Friday night. Glasgow 4th in Conference A, with a game in hand, but 10 points behind you guys, the Ospreys, in 3rd. A big game for you guys at this stage in the season. Yeah, big game, and as you said, we went well against them earlier in the season, but that seems like a millennium ago. Well, it probably was. So we know that they've got a large number of depletions from a Scotland point of view. It's going to be an arm wrestle. Hopefully the conditions are good. The one thing I will say about it, obviously they're a positive team. I know Danny Wilson well, known him for a long time. I know they will be well prepared, and we're going to have to, really get involved with the arm wrestle. But that's the same in every game that you get into. And the challenge for us is looking at ourselves: is can we convert that pressure into points? And that's the challenge that we've set ourselves this week.
What are your options at half back?
At 10 or 9? Who are you talking about?
Well, both of them really. Well, let's start with 9.
So we've got Ruben, who's coming up next. So Ruben Morgan-Williams coming up. You've got Harry Morgan's injured. We've got Sean Venter and Matthew Albury at 9. And then we've got Luke Price and Josh Thomas at 10.
Right, so you're going to need your youngsters, really, unless you play Sean Venter there. You're going to need your youngsters to really step up.
Well, you know me long enough. There's only one way, mate. There's a different way. If in doubt, you go young and you go with energy. That's what we go with. And from that point of view, that's the future. And you might not always get the result, but you get added value of progressing these youngsters further down the track, which we're going to need, going forward for sure.
What have you made of Ruben this season?
I think he's been, I came here with a complete blank sheet of paper, not really knowing much about, the youngsters and the squad play. Obviously, I knew who they were and did some research, but until you start working with people, and Ruben's a real success story, along with many that you've talked about, and you've mentioned by their performances. But Ruben's a good example. You saw him take opportunist tries. You saw him manage the game. He's obviously learning from Webby. He's understanding his own game better, and he's been one of our standout performers. I know people like Kieran Williams obviously get a lot of the headlines because of scoring tries and bits and pieces, but when you've got on where we're going to try and get talent all across the pitch, you need people that are going to stitch it together. And he's taken a couple of individual tries off, as I've mentioned, and he's working hard on his core basics. So yeah, he's got a great work here. I think he's got a bright future for us.
You've got you got a real problem then. At number one.
More loose heads. That's exactly, yeah. If you can find some more of them, that'd be great. No, well, again, you saw Garen Phillips come on for us in a previous game, so we've got some academy boys that we'll throw in there. But again, they've performed well out there, and it's a great opportunity for them to be part of a team that's going to put its best front foot forward. And I know he can scrummage. I know he's got good set piece work. So there's an opportunity for him.
With Alan Wynne, you did mention him last week. It's since been sort of revealed that there might be an offer from Japan. And we all know how much money there is in top league. Is that a concern for you, Toby?
No. No, not at all. It's not a concern for me. I've spoken to the player. I know where it is in relation to the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, so I'm pretty confident, thanks.
Right. How did you feel, looking at the pluses from last week, how did you feel that Will Griffiths and Kieran Williams went? I thought they were both quite good. Yeah,
I thought they were better than good. I thought, and part of the growth of and the understanding, if there is a positive out of, a poor result, you still got to champion good performance. And those two, with Rhys Davis and Ruben and a number of others, have always put their hand up and delivered consistent 7 to 9 out of 10 performances. And that should hopefully excite our supporters and the Welsh public, because obviously we're a very much Welsh qualified team, because it bodes well for the future. The challenge for us as an organisation is to put enough support around them that we're not dependent upon those players every week, because they need time to take the pressure valve off and relax. As you know, and we've spoken about before, I've run programs that have produced a lot of international rugby players throughout my time at London Irish, at Bath, and obviously, my aim is to do exactly the same here. So I understand about how much you need and how much you don't, and those bits and pieces. And if I'm honest, I think we've got an over-reliance on young players at the moment. I will champion them, but I think we've got an over-reliance on them, and and that's brought around by internationals and injuries. And the challenge for us is not to be as reliant. They will always put their hands up, and I love the energy that they bring, but we need to give them chance to grow too.
Would you like to see a couple more non-Welsh qualified players possibly coming in, offering you that all year round coverage, perhaps?
Well, I think we just got to be clear on the strategy. I mean, we've got a very clear strategy. Obviously we're producing Welsh qualified players for the Ospreys, for the region. The connections of that are really strong, and that will always be where we are. And if we can get all of our players to be Welsh and give us the depth and strength in depth that we have, of course we'll go that way. But the reality is there's only so many good players to go around, so we have to think about what we can get from elsewhere, and as you say, protect yourself across fixture clashes. I think the Irish provinces have done that exceptionally well. I think they're the leading light in that. They're a little bit further down the track on how they do that. But ultimately, these things cost money, and it comes down to budget and capability. I can want to do a lot of these things, and it makes sense. It's the capability to do that. And I think once everyone gets outside COVID, once everyone gets fans back in the ground, everyone will have a greater understanding of the financial landscape. People will have finalised budgets, and then hopefully we can become more robust.
Yeah, last question really. Have you got your fingers crossed that Rhys will be around for the Rainbow Cup, or would you expect it? Well, it's got to be the Rainbow Cup, hasn't it, really? Would you be optimistic?
To be honest, Mark, I can't answer that until I get the next set of scan results whatever. I'll probably know more on that next week.
His Lions' chances then, which we're looking a little bit slim given that he's out of the Wales situation anyway, but it could be difficult for him if he's not playing rugby.
Could be, but also Warren Gatland knows a lot about him. So, I think that from his point of view, he knows what he's going to get. And if he's the right person for him, I'm sure, you hear other stories that everyone's talking about, in England, Sam Simmons going straight into the Lions before he plays for his country. So, look, that's the beauty of the Lions. It's a standalone thing that with a guy who's got an incredible track record, both internationally and from a Lions perspective. He knows what he's doing, he knows what he wants, and I'm sure we'll pick accordingly.
Good stuff. Thanks, Toby.
No worries.
Obviously, signing of Jack Morgan, to get somebody of, you know, the quality is already showing, but the potential is also showing. It's a bit of a coup for the club, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it's. Yeah, I don't view it like. I understand why you say what you do. We've got a style of play, a rugby program, an intent and ambition, and Jack sees himself in that, and that's fantastic. And yeah, that it's pretty much like that. So obviously the outcome is the outcome. He's made his decisions for a reason. We've gone after him for a reason. There's a good fit on how we want to play the game and the depth and all those bits and pieces. And for such a young player to have such an influence, I think is, you know, a testament to him as a player, and that's what makes it exciting. The one thing I'd say about him, he's very driven, and he knows he's not the finished article, and he's very humble, and you know he's a typical representation of what I'd like players to be in our organisation. So wants to get better, you know, does what's necessary, and wants to, you know, push his talent as far as he can go.
And when you're in a situation like this where you've got so many players absent for whatever reason, and you are, like you said earlier, relying quite heavily on these youngsters, which in an ideal world you wouldn't want to do, but you also have to just look at those positives and think, it's more game time, and come next season, these players are going to be very much better off having played all these games that they may not have done.
Yeah, 100%. I'm absolutely delighted, perversely, that they get the exposure. The issue for me is the mental and physical release that you need. You can feel like you are ready to go, and at this level 1-2% make all the difference. So it's not around it's not less about their capability and growing as a rugby player. That goes every performance, every training session. It's just actually having that release valve to just allow them to physically or emotionally recover, because what we do is hard. And as they get more experience, they understand themselves better, they understand what they need to do. If you spoke to Dan Lydiate now at 31 rather than 21, he'll tell you a completely different story, and that's part of it. So it's just about creating the program that allows people to thrive, you know, and not just survive.
And how do you manage that then in this situation? Is it a case of you just, when an opportunity arises for, you know, one lad to just have a week off and try something else, is it a case of week by week you just see if there's an opportunity to give them time off?
Yeah, I mean, this might be revolutionary. I don't make this stuff up. You know, I actually have a plan. No, so from that point of view, yeah, we plan it out and the best laid plans, but you have to have flexibility and adaptability in what we do, because injury is part of it. International court. There's so many things that we can't purely control. But yeah, we have a plan and a rotation and a this and a that for everybody. But we just have to be, you know, think on our feet a little bit, and that's why, you know, on any given week it can change, and you get a long-term injury that changes it. You get injuries in the thing that really puts a spanner in the works, if I'm honest, is lots of injuries in the same position, you know, because it doesn't matter what you do then, if you or say injuries or unavailability. So if you look at us in the second row as a great example, those two young boys in there are going week in and week out, and they should be absolutely championed for that, but needs must. And what they are growing, they're growing more resilient. They understand themselves, how they have to prepare, how they have to recover, and this will be great building blocks for them continuing to perform at an elite level for a long part of their career.
And finally, obviously, two results went against you this weekend, losing in the rugby.
So I can't believe you're bringing that up. That's a cheap shot, that is. That's a cheap shot.
Well, it's even cheaper when I tell you I'm a United fan. So.
I know, I remember you telling me. So you've waited all week to talk to me about that.
Exactly.
That's all right. You know, I am disappointed, obviously, to lose a 21 winning game record to the other side of Manchester, of course, but it was still a 21 game winning streak. So, and we've still got 12 points in hand, so I'm not too disappointed.
Top man, all the best.
Cheers, thanks a lot.